This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by Monster Products. The headphones on my head right now, the Monster Elements, available in on-ear, over-ear, and in-ear styles. But you don't just have to have the Elements. There's a whole line of headphones, whether they be on-ear, in-ear, wired, Bluetooth, designed for sports, designed for hardcore music listening. There's a whole line of headphones that are available. Plus, of course, the Bluetooth speakers from the little hotshot to the giant monster blaster, and all of the cables and power supplies to connect them and all of your other devices as well, whether it be your phone and computer or your TV and the home theater system. And it's all available by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/monster. And that music means that it is time for the Piltch Point with online editorial director of Laptop Magazine and Tom's Guide, Avram Piltch. Avram!
Hey!
We should probably warn our new viewers that the internet connection in the studio is weird this evening. I managed to get through the entire promo before Monster's website loaded. So, if we have any weird connectivity issues, don't worry. Everything's okay. The studio is just, falling apart. Anyway, we just talked on the Nifty Gifties about the new Qualcomm-powered Windows computers, but you made a promise for us last week that we were going to get to talk apples to apples, AMD to Intel.
Yes. So, big news. AMD Ryzen Mobile, AMD's new mobile chip for laptops, which is supposed to take Intel 8th generation Core i5 and Core i7 on, and actually lives up to the hype, and in many cases outperformed a similarly spec'd Intel laptop.
Ooh.
Now, this is one laptop, because right now the only laptop that you can get with AMD Ryzen Mobile is the HP Envy X360 2-in-1. Now, supposedly there's an Acer Swift 5 coming out with Ryzen, and there's going to be a Lenovo IdeaPad coming out with Ryzen Mobile, but so far we haven't seen either of those available for sale. So as of a couple weeks, as of the other day, the only one for sale is the HP Envy X360 2-in-1, which comes with both Ryzen 5 and you can get with Core i5. So we got one of each, almost identically spec. The Intel one, for some reason, we could only get it with 12 gigabytes of RAM, while the AMD one had 8 gigabytes of RAM.
Huh.
But they both had 256 gigabyte SSDs and 1080p screens, and were the same laptop, although the AMD one actually comes in a nicer color. It's like a charcoal color versus a silver. Like a copper versus silver. But anyway, so we took them, we put them through a series of tests. And what we found is, in some cases, the Intel did better, and in other cases, AMD did better. But overall, AMD won more tests, and it massively beat the Intel on graphics. So Ryzen 5 is the equivalent of Core i5. And just like 8th Gen Core, Ryzen Mobile has 4 cores and 8 threads. It uses 15-watt thermal design profile, TDP, just like the Intel chips. And the Ryzen 5 2500U, which is the chip we tested, is very similar to a Core i5 8250U, although the Ryzen chip has a higher base clock speed and a slightly higher turbo speed. Now, on Geekbench 4, which is an overall performance test that measures processing power, Intel still came out ahead by a comfortable margin of like about 12,400 to 9,800. So the higher is better. That one was not close. But on Cinebench, which measures rendering performance, AMD edged out. AMD edged out by about 10%, was about 10% faster than the Intel Core i5. When it came to doing something single core spreadsheet, when it came to running Excel macro, the two of them were about tied, finishing within 5 seconds of each other. But when it came to video transcoding with Handbrake, again, there was a significant difference. We transcoded a 4K video to 1080p, and the Ryzen chip was about 2.5 minutes faster. Finally, when we started to play games,
2.5 minutes faster on a total render time of how long?
20 minutes.
Okay.
So the AMD finished in 17 minutes and 48 seconds, and the Intel 20 minutes and 4 seconds.
Okay.
So doing the math, that's like what? That's more than 10% difference.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things that involve gaming, that's not even close. And that's because the AMD Radeon, the AMD's processor, their integrated graphics is Radeon Vega graphics are far superior to Intel's UHD graphics. Even when I've talked to Intel, they pretty much admit, listen, AMD's integrated graphics is better. In fact, hasn't Intel basically tacitly admitted that, because we heard about that partnership that's supposed to be happening between the two of them, between AMD and Intel, where AMD is to supply the integrated graphics. So, so I think everybody knows, because of their heritage owning the Radeon line, AMD has far better integrated graphics, even if you don't, far better graphics, even if you don't have one of their discrete cards.
Right.
So when we played Dirt 3, which is a very low end racing game, which you can run on even, a fairly low end chip, the Intel Core i5 got 27 frames per second. So 30 frames is really what's playable. So it's just below playable. The Ryzen got more than 3 times that, 90 frames per second. So
Woo.
that's like, over 3 times the performance difference. When we played,
wow.
Now, unfortunately though, if you're trying to play a game that really demands discrete graphics, this isn't going to get you over the hump.
Sure.
So we played Rise of the Tomb Raider at 1080p, and that's what we consider our budget gaming test, right? Like we use that on low-end laptops with discrete graphics normally. The Core i5 laptop was a slideshow-like 5.7 frames per second. I mean, you might as well just take a screenshot and stare at it, right? The Ryzen 5 was a fast-moving slideshow, like 15 frames per second. So like I said, you're getting better graphics, but they're still not good enough to make this a gaming rig.
Okay.
So.
But the integrated graphics on this are still going to be better than the integrated graphics on its Intel equivalent, seemingly
by a wide margin.
In both tests by about triple.
Yes. It also did better by about 15% on 3D Mark Ice Storm as well. So, no doubt the graphics are better. But for a lot of people, that may not matter in the price band and the type of laptop that you're getting, because if you're getting integrated graphics, you're probably not a gamer in the first place. You can't really play games on this anyway.
Right.
So you can play 4K videos on anything. So I don't know if it's going to be performance that most people need, because if you really want to game or you really want graphics might, then you're going to get a discrete card in the first place. But one final thing I'll mention, the battery life was on the 2 units was within 5 minutes of each other, so pretty much identical.
Okay.
Both of them lasted about 5 hours and 10 minutes. So not good, but not different from each other. So I wouldn't blame the CPU for that. I would blame the rest of the laptop, like maybe the battery is not very large, or the 15-inch screen is eating up a lot of juice. or whatever. But obviously the two of them were tied on battery life, at least on this laptop.
Sure.
Now we'll see on other laptops to come. But what that suggests to me is our initial conclusion based on all these numbers is very simple. If you're buying a laptop like the Envy that is available in either flavor, either with Ryzen or Intel, or you're just sitting out there and you want to buy a laptop and the only flavor it comes in is Ryzen, don't hesitate, because the performance should be at least as good as Intel. It may be lesser on a couple of tests, as we saw on the Geekbench test, and also we saw on some app opens, although we don't know how much of that was maybe differences in the SSD, but things
Sure.
were maybe half a second. Things opened maybe half. The 3 apps we tried multiple times, things opened an average of like half a second faster on the Intel one. Maybe that's within, sneezing distance to not matter. I don't know, but it's possible that other factors on the individual laptops play a part there too. So
Right.
so who knows? But we did that because AMD had made some claims originally that look how much faster Ryzen opens things than our last processor, and I was I guess it opens apps faster. But anyway, I think the overall message is Ryzen has really leveled the playing field with AMD's really leveled the playing field with Intel. There's not many laptops out there right now that are available with Ryzen Mobile. But if there's one that you're interested in, don't hesitate. It seems that the battery life is the same. This one, by the way, also stayed cool, because we've seen some AMD laptops that got really warm in the past.
Uh-huh.
It stayed cool. It stayed cool throughout the testing. The performance was equal to, within striking distance of, or better than Intel, and much better than Intel on graphics. And as of right now, the AMD version of the NVX 360 is $100 cheaper than the Intel one. So you're paying less for more.
I was trying to look that up myself, but obviously, like we said at the beginning of the show, internet here in the studio is not great today. So I haven't been able to get the price of the Intel one.
That won't always be the case.
Sure.
Right. So I would recommend people to buy whichever is cheaper if you had because I don't think the performance difference is so dramatic that you should pay extra for it. But you certainly shouldn't pay extra to avoid it, right? So during the holiday season, we're in the holiday season, but during like last week, or the week before last, when I was starting work on this story, the Intel was actually $100 cheaper than the AMD.
Okay.
Because the Intel was on a sale.
Sure.
So in that case, I would have said, if you asked me, I would have said buy the Intel, because while the performance numbers were a little better on AMD, not so much that a lot of people would notice on this type of laptop.
Sure.
And save your $100.
Sure.
So my advice is, all things else being equal, get whichever one is cheaper.
As of right this second, they actually, on air right now, they appear to be $50 different. But again,
changes every day. Are you looking at Best Buy? Because that's the main place that you would get them.
Okay, I'm looking on HP's website.
HP's website is, does not always have the best prices on these things.
And from second to second, you could refresh right now and it might change.
Anyway, it could be HP's website, it could be Best Buy.
Sure.
Anywho, bottom line is, we'll continue to test if we get in some more Ryzen laptops. We like to see how Ryzen 7 compares to Core i7, for example. We like to see how this is when it's not on this HP laptop, because I understand this one may actually have more aggressive cooling than I've heard. This one may have more aggressive cooling than others may. So it may actually the AMD chip is made to do higher turbo speeds if it's cooler.
Okay.
If the cooling system is better, they have a feature, I think, called extended frequency range that will do that. So I don't know whether this is actually, we couldn't tell from our test whether this is actually being cooled better. Well, we don't have another one to compare it to either. So
right.
So we'll have to see, But in this limited sample set, this is quite groundbreaking, because AMD has been an also-ran in the performance processor space,
Yeah.
or really even the mainstream processor space for years. Uh, and so AMD has some swagger back, and that's good. And
It's
now
definitely
they're
good.
gonna have to get some design wins where they're on laptops that are more impressive laptops than this one, because the NVX 260 was not a particularly exciting laptop. So and the Acer Swift 5, nice budget laptop, but it's not a particularly exciting laptop either.
Right. It could be also that the manufacturers are being cautious going into AMD laptops, because the AMD laptops have been known to be the bargain basement ones. They were your $200 Black Friday computers in years past, and so AMD is going to have to do something to make it clear we're not the AMD we were 12 months ago, when people are buying. So the manufacturers may be going into it cautiously, putting them into some of the theoretically less impressive hardware to begin with, which makes sense, especially when you come to HP, who seems to be the company who's willing to try all kinds of things that nobody else is really willing to jump out and try. So it kind of makes sense that they're being a little cautious on it. So it'll be nice to see this show up on some more computers. I can't imagine that we'll see too much talked about at CES, but possibly at what's the other one? The one that you go to with lots
Computex?
That one will work.
No, I actually think we are going to hear a lot more from AMD at Computex.
That's what I was thinking.
No, I'm sorry, at CES.
Oh, at CES.
I do think we're going to hear. Stay tuned. I do think we're going to hear a lot more from AMD at CES.
Okay. Well,
because when they made this announcement, they said, sometime soon you're going to hear about other forms of Ryzen, like, this was only for ultrabooks, only for like mainstream laptops, but they still have to try and compete they still intend, I think, to try and compete in higher wattage, like in gaming, to take on like Intel's HQ series and HK series processors.
Sure.
So,
okay.
I think we may hear about that at CES. I really do.
Do you think we're going to hear about the processors? Do you think we're going to see some laptops announced?
Both.
Okay.
I think we will hear about, I honestly, look, I'm not having any information under embargo that I'm hinting at, but
sure.
I think that we will hear about more with the Ryzen mobile chips that exist now.
Okay.
And then I think we will hear about the new CPU.
Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like for the first time in a while, CES is going to be exciting for computer people this year, because it's been a little while since computer people have gotten excited about CES, so much so that Microsoft doesn't exhibit anymore. Like, it's so it'll be nice to see. Lenovo is going to show off their Qualcomm computer, and hopefully AMD and partners will show off some new computers. This will be exciting. You're gonna have your hands full this year. Well, Avram, as always, we appreciate you bringing the really like nitty gritty stuff to us. I know I cannot be the only one who is excited to talk about this tonight. So, as always, thank you.
It's great to see competition. Oh, and I just real quick want to say, if you want to read the whole article, go to laptopmag.com.
Fantastic. I was going to ask you if we could read the whole thing. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I guess as far as this is concerned, we will talk to you next week.